The sun will come out tomorrow. Bet your bottom dollar that tomorrow there'll be sun. Just thinking about tomorrow clears away the cobwebs and the sorrow till there's none. When I'm stuck with a day that's gray and lonely, I just stick out my chin and grin and say, the sun'll come out tomorrow, so you gotta hang on till tomorrow. Come what may, tomorrow, tomorrow, I love ya tomorrow. You're always a day away. Tomorrow, tomorrow, I love ya tomorrow. You're always a day
The pandemic has forced thousands of businesses to permanently close, leaving thousands and thousands of Filipinos jobless. Businesses like Today X Future shared how donations from their patrons kept the famous Cubao bar afloat during the quarantine period, but still their best option would be to close down. Franchise company Caravan Food Group Incorporated, on the other hand, is finding ways to keep the business running by offering their brands LA, Overdose, and Raw Juice Bar open for franchising without any fees. According to their CEO, Francis Carl Reyes, they are doing this for the sake of their PWD workers. With this economic crisis devastating small businesses, how are our aspiring entrepreneurs coping with the situation? And more importantly, is it still a good time to pursue their dreams of becoming an entrepreneur? In this roundtable discussion, we have invited several entrepreneurs to talk about their challenges that they are facing as a result of this pandemic and how they are finding opportunities not only to emerge and survive this crisis, but also to thrive as well. First of all, our first guest is the only, like I said, thorn among the roses from Carton.ph, Mr. Rob Afzelius. Rob, kumusta?
Hi, I'm good. Thanks for having me here today.
Thanks for being here. It's nice to meet you virtually. We also have from Zero Basics, Marielle Jane Sevilla.
Hi, good afternoon. It's Jana, not Jane.
Jana, ayan. Para mas casual tayo, Jana. Thank you so much. I guess this whole situation all brings us back to basics. So it's a very good time for us to recalibrate our businesses, no?
Mm-hmm.
And finally, we have a multi-hyphenated guest who is also a millennial at the same time, kaya mga multi-hyphenated, our freelance creative branding consultant and podcaster, all wrapped in one, Siege Tantenko.
Hi everyone! Ano yan? Kaya lang naman multi-hyphenated ng mga millennials kasi mahirap kumita ng pera.
Kailangan kumita ng pera, kaya nga multi-hyphenated ngayon. Kung ganyan ka, Siege, ako rin kailangan kumita ng pera, kaya ako ay multi-hyphenated rin. Just to introduce myself, I'm your moderator for this discussion. I'm also the co-founder of Mercato Central, Easy Franchise, and Enter.ph. And at the same time, I am an entrepreneurial mentor and speaker. My name is RJ Ledesma. Again, guys, welcome. Thank you so much for taking time to talk about your individual businesses and how you guys plan to work towards the future during this time. As we know, we're experiencing this pandemic. It's been called a black swan event, a once-in-a-million event, which has all disrupted our businesses. But before this disruption, let's take a step back and let's take a look at what each of your businesses does so we get a better impression, our listeners get a better idea of what you guys do. Let's start off with Rob. Rob, with Carton.ph, tell us a bit more about your business, but more importantly, tell us a bit more about what pain point was your business trying to address, and that is the reason why you created it.
Yeah, sure. So men first for this one, huh? The only man. Yeah. So Carton.ph started maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
Mhm.
The reason why we started Carton was it was just casually one of the partners loved to go to bazaars, and
Mhm.
when he would find an item that he likes, he would buy it, and then he would go back, let's say the week after or a month after, and he would find that those merchants selling would not be there anymore, and he had a hard time reaching them.
Mhm.
So he wanted a venue for a site for him to be able to buy these products again. But I think at the same time, it was hitting two birds with one stone, because he found out that the merchants actually didn't have other venues to sell except those bazaars that they went to. And mind you,
I
this was
see.
4 years ago. So it also gave these merchants a platform to sell and to reach out to new customers. So the pain point here was it started out by where can you find Filipino products and have access to these products anytime, anywhere. And then for the merchants, how can they sell these products, promote these products outside of bazaars? So this is how Carton started.
Fantastic. So, and right now, Carton is an online platform. Is that right?
Yeah, it's an online platform. It's a online marketplace. It basically the unique selling proposition of Carton is really promoting Filipino products, helping Filipino entrepreneurs get to the next level. So it's a starting point for these Filipino entrepreneurs. It just became bigger than what it was originally for. It used to stand for your online bazaar, but
Mhm.
now we're really promoting Filipino products, Filipino entrepreneurs, all the way down to grassroots, to our farmers, small mom and pops with really incredible stories on how they started these small businesses. Some have succeeded, some are now international brands. And
Fantastic.
Carton is just, I would say, an enabler and a partner for these SMEs.
Fantastic. I can commiserate with you because I do the same thing for the food industry. So I know exactly
Yeah, yeah.
what you guys are talking about, Rob. And the nice thing is really that we're seeing that, especially for millennials, when they purchase, they want a certain meaningfulness to their purchase. And when they buy from you, there's a meaningfulness because each of the products which you carry on Carton.ph have a story. And with that story, they are supporting small food businesses, or rather, they're supporting small indigenous businessmen or tradesmen. Really great job there with
Spot on.
Carton.ph.
Thank you.
Moving on, Jana. I'm really interested.
Hi.
What is the pain point of Zero Basics? What made you start out your business in the first place? What were you guys trying to address?
Well, Zero Basics is an all vegan personal care product line. And the reason why we started it is because most of the vegan non food items that were available when we were starting were very expensive and mostly imported. So I said it might be good to introduce a local brand if we can produce the same quality of products. And then I've been working on these products. I've been giving them as gifts to my friends, and then until they approached me and asked me if they can buy. And then it took me a long time to decide if I'm going to turn it into a business. And then I eventually did. And now we are trying to really, formalize the business.
I see. So you are in the process of formalizing it, which means that you developed the product line already. Which what are the products? So we just have a better idea.
For example, we have soaps, we have shampoo bars, conditioner
Mhm.
bars, deodorant, insect repellent. We also have hand sanitizers. It's already actually a little bit formal, except that we don't have the government permits yet. We
I
were
see.
hoping we wanted to register early this year, but then COVID started, and then naging magulo yung panahon. So right now, I'm hoping that we can pursue that na din.
Understand. So great. So you guys
Mhm.
were on the way there already, but all of a sudden,
Yes.
this
Mhm.
pandemic disrupted what would have been
Mhm.
the launch of Zero Basics, or at least the registration of Zero Basics. Just a
Yes.
question: if you have vegan products, does it also mean that you are vegan yourself?
I am vegan, yes.
Ah,
I
Wow.
am with PETA, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. Now I'm just a volunteer, but I worked there for 10 years before I
oh, fantastic.
focused with
Oh,
Zero Basics.
fantastic. Many years,
Mhm.
for 10 years, I was an ovo-lacto vegetarian, and I worked with PETA also as well when I was doing a magazine called Manual Magazine. So, very interesting
All
story.
right.
Thanks so much, Jana Sevilla of Zero Basics. And finally, our multi-hyphenated guest for this afternoon, freelance creative branding consultant, podcaster. Ano ba talaga, Siege Tantenko? What problem were you trying to solve with all these different things? Alam ko, gusto mong kumita ng pera, Siege, no? But what's the main theme that's putting all these together for you across all your different professions?
Well, I started out in
Mhm.
journalism and I set out as a freelancer in 2015. And the theme of everything for me has been creativity for problem solving. I believe that better communication, whether that's fixing the branding of a professional basketball team, or it's hosting a podcast about female athletes, or it's writing a script for directors whose stories I feel deserve to be told. If we can have better communication, then that contributes to better understanding between people. So that's always where I've sort of positioned myself. When you're a freelance creative, the business is yourself, and that's the hosting, design, podcasting, whatever services that you can offer to clients and to businesses. For example, the thing that I'm really passionate about right now is Go Hard Girls. And the pain point that I was trying to solve there is that I think we're not yet having the kinds of discussion about gender equality in sports and the gender gap in sports. We're not really discussing it as deep as we should, as deep as we can compared to other countries. So the pain point there is I wanna bring that discussion in and normalize that discussion and elevate the platform for underrated female athletes. So that's what we do on the podcast, and creativity for problem solving. Creativity for social.
Great. So what I like what I see over here is that sort of like your unique selling proposition, if you had one within that industry, is that you're a multi-talented producer, meaning that you just don't write. You also produce the material. You also host the material at the same time, and really you're in the realm of sports. That's where sports are sports related. Is that right, Siege?
Well, that's the thing. It's tama yung sabi mo. I think the years that I was not yet a freelancer, I was able to sort of maximize the Swiss Army knife. Sanga-sanga.
I know the feeling. I know the feeling.
So I started out doing social media and writing for a major TV network, and then I became a sports reporter. So after that, after being a sports reporter for 4 years, I was able to apply the copywriting and the segment producer skills to venture into PR and branding for sports teams. And from there, because I worked in journalism, the podcasting became natural. And because I did manage designers when I was part of the social media team, then I can work in marketing and other things as well.
Great. That's one of the traits of an entrepreneur and an entrepreneurial mindset, where you're able to take what you've learned from other industries and then bring it into your own industry as well. It's sort of like your own source of innovation. What you've learned from doing producing on TV, you're able to bring that into your podcasting industry or into your PR industry. Really great job, Siege. And now we're all here sitting on the same boat. I'm very glad I'm actually here because I can actually wear your hat as an entrepreneur at the same time and speak and share your own sentiments that you have right now. But I really want to hear from you guys right now. When COVID first hit, what was the impact to your business? Like all of a sudden, like for mine, I had to close shop because literally it was ECQ. I was a place of mass gathering, so we couldn't operate. How about you guys? What was happening to you guys with your businesses? Did they have to stop for some time? What happened to you, Rob, in Carton.ph initially when the ECQ first hit?
Sure. I think mine is a very interesting story or angle because I think prior to COVID, although you see people getting into digital, but e-commerce is still very young for us in the Philippines. So I think, I mean, we've had Carton for 4 years, so we've set up a lot of things. So when COVID happened, it actually leapfrogged Carton, 3 steps forward. All of a sudden, we had a surge in demand. We had a lot of, problems because of a few things that closed. But I think, in general, Carton all of a sudden got a lot of attention. Our loyal customers and past customers who trusted on Carton started coming back, and I think just because they couldn't get out of the house, started to buy more from Carton and started to ask us if we had other things. So it was actually something very positive for us, but it came with a lot of challenges because well, one, we were overwhelmed. We were not prepared for this logistically to begin with, and physically we couldn't even move, so we couldn't get people to our warehouse to pack the products. We couldn't pick up products, so we had the orders online. Fulfillment became a challenge, so we had to be very creative on how we overcame the problems. It took us maybe, I mean, we were meeting every day as a team, especially during the beginning, because the rules also kept on changing.
That's right. That's right.
One barangay versus another city had different rules. So when we think that we have one thing covered already, it just changes daily. So it was crazy times. First 2 weeks were a lot of sleepless nights, but like we had to ask and get people to be in our warehouse, and they were sleeping there. They could not leave.
That's right.
We had to facilitate orders online. My core team who used to be in the office daily were doing their jobs remotely, and this worked out. And I think one thing that we really had to step up was customer service. I think our customers were very understanding of the situation. From a fulfillment of maybe 2 days, we were probably hitting 5 to 7 days, and this was very, a very big challenge. So we had to make sure that we call our customers on a regular basis, send them an email, send them an SMS. I think they value that you are in touch with them, assuring them your product will arrive, apologizing for things that you can control. One other challenge that we had prior to COVID was really getting more merchants onboarded in our platform. Because again, everybody had their own way of selling, bazaars, social media. And I think they realized that they also needed a brand that they can trust, and Carton also provided that. So merchants were now coming to us, and the onboarding became faster. So I think it was very good, and it was more of how do we manage the new normal at that point, and how do we prepare ourselves that if we don't see the situation normalizing soon, so making sure that we're well prepared for the things that may come.
So what you can see, there's sort of like a chart, from the winners and losers of the ECQ or this pandemic in general. Your business actually comes out on top because you were in the e-commerce platform, and this thing's actually accelerated more people going into your platform because it was already established. I don't know, if Rob, if you came across the joke that where they were saying, what caused the digital transformation of your company? Was it the CEO, the CIO, Chief Information Officer, or a COVID-19? I guess in that situation, it was COVID-19, and it was beneficial for your business because you technically been operating every day and even having to work harder as a result of this pandemic. So again, I'm happy to hear that you guys came out on top and that you've got some good problems to solve as well.
Yes.
Now,
thank you.
Thanks so much. Now, Jana, Zero Basics. That's what I want to know a bit more about. There's a couple of things going on for you, right, Jana? Number one is that there's production of the products. There's also the distribution of the products, and also the marketing of the products. What happened to all that during this pandemic?
I guess we were lucky at the beginning because we had enough stocks at home, because I had a big production around the end of February. But then,
buti na lang, di ba? Buti na lang.
Buti na lang talaga. And then, siguro the first 3 to 4 weeks of the ECQ, it was really hard for us because we had to I had to cancel my summer schedule of bazaars. I mean, everything got canceled, and then also our weekend market got canceled. Even yung online partner ko, they had to cancel. But everything was canceled. I was
Oh.
starting to get nervous, and of course, I was so worried. But then, I also took the opportunity to pause. Sabi ko na lang, ganun talaga, lahat nag-pause ngayon.
Mm-hmm.
We are lucky because we can afford that pause. And then, eventually, nag-reopen na rin even our suppliers, so we were able to stock up again. Pero that was also a big decision to make. I was like, are we going to stock up or are we just going to, continue the pause? Kasi we're not sure kung, at that time
It's
it
the
was more
uncertainty of the
yes,
situation.
very
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I
uncertain.
understand,
Mhm.
understand. Perfectly. Question, I want to go just a bit into what you were saying earlier on, Jana. So you had
Mhm.
stocks at the end of February, and then moving forward, like ECQ, everything was being canceled. Were you able to sell the stocks? Were they stuck in your house or in a warehouse? What would you do? How could you move the stocks during the ECQ period when most of the bazaars were closed or were closing?
Somehow, nag-reflect naman through online yung sales. I mean, nag-transfer online. But then, not as, not as I imagined it. Kasi hindi rin naman ganun kaganda yung sales online at the first maybe few weeks of the ECQ.
That's right.
But then, afterwards, nag-pick up. Nag-pick up talaga yung sales ulit. So, I said, sige, then let's, continue with the production. Let's do it again. Let's
And what
just
type of
face
platform did
it.
you use? Were you already on an online platform prior to the ECQ, or did you have to come up with a platform during ECQ, or did you go to somebody else's platform to sell your products?
We were already online. We have online partners. We have a website. We also take in orders directly from our
I
social
see.
media. But then, ang naging problema ko nun, yung courier hindi makapasok sa village, yung mga ganon, ang
Okay.
daming naging problema.
Same like Carton. Same problem
Mhm.
that Carton had as well. Oh, logistics. Oh.
Mhm. Yes. Mhm.
And then you were telling me that you were still uncertain because you had to do you had to order again, but you weren't sure if the orders should push through or not. Were you ordering
That's
just raw
right.
materials,
Mhm.
or were you ordering raw materials for production, or were you ordering the finished product?
Raw materials for the production.
Wow, so you
And
still
even
had to
the
if ever,
packaging.
and you
Mhm.
still had to produce that. How about your workers to produce those materials?
We are able to produce at home. I have parang stay in workers at home. So
Okay.
that wasn't a problem naman.
Okay. So right now, what's the current state of Zero Basics?
Right now we're doing very well despite the pandemic. But of course, ang hirap kasing hindi mo isama sa sa mga problema mo yung cancellation of bazaars. And then I
That's right.
said,
That's right.
you know what? Even if they allow it, I won't join. For the rest of the year. Kasi it's too risky. So I said, sige, yung mga gamit natin pang bazaar, itago na lang muna sa bodega.
Hmm.
Let's focus more on online. That's the safest platform for all of us at the moment.
So the current state right now, Zero Basics is that you have gone online. You're doing e-commerce here right now, and at the same time, because the workers are staying in, they're producing the products, but I guess at a more minimal quantity than you used to produce prior to the ECQ
Yes,
at home.
that's right. We
Okay.
had to reduce the production talaga.
Okay, I see. Well, thanks so much for Jana for letting us know how it's like. But you really point out what it's like to be an entrepreneur. Laban lang, di ba? Resilience lang is what we kind of
Ganun
need.
talaga. That's
Ganun
right.
talaga.
Oo.
Ganun talaga. Sa sitwasyon ganito. I think
Mm-mm.
natatawa lang tayo ni Rob, ako, si Siege. We know exactly what it's like. Ganun na talaga. That's the situation. But laban lang, laban lang. And like talking about sports, laban lang. Siege, Tantenko. Siege,
There
Siege.
was
Oh,
There was a time na parang sabi ko, na parang nanghihina na ako ng loob. But then I
oo.
read somewhere, sabi na, you just have to survive. You don't have to really thrive. Like, don't put that pressure on you. Just survive. If
Just
you're a
survive.
business owner, small or big, just survive. And then, because better times will come,
Yeah.
matatapos din to. Just
Yeah.
survive. So yun
Yeah.
yung naging ano ko, yun yung naging parang outlook ko ngayon.
Yeah, sabi nga ni Jack Ma recently, di ba? This is the year that you just think about survival, just the survival of your
Mhm.
business. That's really where you
Mhm.
are right now. Okay, thanks so much. And talking about survival, Siege, I'm very interested also in what you do because we work in similar circles, which is basically hosting where yung kapital natin ay yung laway natin, and I guess the sharpness of wit and thinking, no, and talking. What did you have to do? What happened to your business in general during this pandemic?
Well, right before the ECQ started, I had a whole series of campus tours lined up that I was going to host. That's all
Mm.
gone. And a lot of my consultancy also happens in sports. And so the PBA opening still pushed through on a Sunday. By Wednesday, they canceled the conference. And the league still hasn't come back until now. And so affected doon, it's not just, okay, there are no games, so there's nothing, the first to get hit will always be the marketing budgets of people. You're worried about
Mhm.
that because that's just how it is. In terms of operations, some marketing communications are usually the first to get hit. So there was a lot of fear, a lot of worry, a lot of anxiety, especially in the first 2 months. And I remember back then I was talking to my photographer because we do work with people who may stay in Manila for work but live in the province. So there's
Mhm.
also a worry of making sure that they're able to get back before the city closes down. But also, if
Mhm.
they go back, what will they do? So there was a lot of worry. When it comes also to podcasting, we lost access to our studio, our regular equipment. It was, there was no assurance of when things would come back. So I think when you were talking about earlier, like how do you prepare? How do you make yourself a well prepared, responsible, insulated as much as possible? I think as freelancers, the challenge is always to expand how many hats you can wear. I'm just very lucky that I'm not just doing one thing. So even before this, marakat talaga ako. So even though sports and hosting has taken a backseat, it's opened the door for me to do other stuff, to focus my attention on other parts and other services that I can offer and other needs that we can meet. Because sige, walang sports. But there is also a large need for people to be informed and to stay connected during these times. Me and my friends, we keep sending each other this Finding Nemo, the Dory swimming, and we're just like, just keep swimming. And
Just keep swimming. That's
that's
right.
it. That's 2020 mood.
So what have you been doing, Siege, nowadays? I mean, at the start of the crisis, I know, syempre, I went through the same thing as you. All my hosting gigs, whether they were weddings or events, they of course, many of them got rescheduled. A lot of them got canceled. But eventually, I found kumbaga, my niche, doing a lot of online hostings for webinars and everything else. What did you evolve into during this time? What did you have to do moving forward?
I think the key decision that really helped me adapt is just to ask, what is your purpose? What is your passion? Why are you doing this? And so I feel that that gave me a sense of calm and also helped me find people who were trying to do the same thing. So the first hosting gig that I got during this situation is my friend who runs a mental health organization was hosting a panel discussion about mental health during lockdown, and she got me as the host, and that was the start of it. Also for my podcast, yes, there was no PBA, there was no NBA at the time, but I figured, okay, our mission is to cover female athletes. What can we do? So we found Irish Magno, who is our first Filipino boxer to qualify for the Olympics, and she's affected by the lockdown.
Hmm.
We
Hmm.
thought she was stranded in Baguio, and
Oh, okay. Oh.
that's where her training facility was. So she qualified for the Olympics, came home, and just quarantined right away. That's it. So we set it up using just a video call online rather than what we would normally do, which is to go on vacation. And we were able to tell her story in that way and just pivot to telling stories about people during these times. Same thing for the whole podcast network where I work, Puma Podcast. A lot of our shows, we did like economics, history. A lot of us
Mhm.
were off whatever podcast we normally do to focus on a series called COVID Diaries, where we just documented stories of different Filipinos living through these times.
Well, thanks so much, Siege, Rob, and John, for giving me a better perspective of what's been happening to you guys since that time. And really, as you can see, there are different ways of us to evolve. But what you're seeing, I think, tamang-tama yung analogy na ginamit ni Siege. No, it's like we're just fish who keep on swimming. You got to figure something out. That's really how it's like to be an entrepreneur. And like many of you, some of you had downtime, and some of you had non-existent downtime, like Rob for Carton.ph. No, so. During this crisis, I just want to know, diba, the common theme seems to be that number one, we've got to work from home, but we've got to learn how to better manage our business from home, which is our new workplace. Tell me, what do you think are the most, like, what were your helpful tools for you to become better at managing your businesses from the house, whether you were very, very busy, like Rob doing Carton, or you were adjusting, which was like what Jana was doing, or you were having to go figure out doing something online. What was your own personal story of, let's say, digital transformation that helped you become better at doing work from home or managing your business from home? Let's start off with Rob.
Yeah. I think I'll start off first before the tools. I think the mindset.
Yes.
First is you need to, number one, really trust your team. That trust has to be there, and that has to be established even before. And I think, it even becomes even a greater need right now that you really need to trust one another to deliver. And I think secondly, you need to empower your team to be able to make, certain decisions and to just be able, even though they're working from home, to be able to do things on their own. So having said that, going on to the tools, just like what we're doing now, everything was done through virtual calls. So one of our big challenges before was how do we still pack our stuff? And we have new people in our warehouse, not trained. They don't know which brands are which. They don't know which items are stored where. And my team couldn't physically go to the office. So we had to video call almost the entire day and show them, which items are where. And there were a few instances where the wrong products would get packed on the wrong stuff that has to be shipped for a customer. So it was a slow process. So it was tough, but having the video calls really helped. For my team, it was regular and constant communication. We would talk at least twice a day, one in the morning, one at night. And again, being open to just changing and being fluid, because the things that apply on day one doesn't apply on day two, and it will change again on day three. So
I hear you.
to
I hear you there.
Yeah. So it's being flexible, patient, and just adapting. So yeah.
Yeah, and I guess the most important. I mean, you already had the digital tools to do Carton, no? But it's really like adjusting to this sort of like doing a lot of the virtual meetings with people, which we've all had to adjust to as well. And I guess right now this seems to be the regular business correspondence. Really, actually, for me, it's become more efficient. I get to meet more people right now, actually, at home with meetings set up one after the other. Thanks so much for sharing that insight with us, Rob. Jana, how about for you? I know that you're managing the business from home. Initially, you had a bit of time to stop and do some adjustments because all the bazaars closed. What were your helpful tools to restart the business, especially digitally? What were these tools that you used?
I actually hired more people.
Wow. Great.
Yes, I had to hire two more to help with the social media because I said that's where we should be focusing our energies. So now all messages are answered in a fast way, and then the deliveries are also faster now. Sabi ko na lang pabilisin na lang natin yung online platform natin. So yung order taking is much faster now, and also yung delivery. At first mahirap yung delivery with the lockdown and the courier. You know what? I even had to drive around. I did the deliveries myself
Yan yung
for a
entrepreneur.
while.
Yan yung entrepreneur talaga, di ba?
Oo. At that time, na-enjoy ko kasi walang traffic. Wala
Oo.
talagang traffic. And I was able to secure parang a pass. So wala akong problema sa mga checkpoint. Actually, na-enjoy ko talaga yung part na yun. I was
So,
driving
parang
around
essential
Metro
good tuloy yung
Manila.
parang naging essential good tuloy yung
Oo.
mga zero basics mo, di ba? Oo.
Well, actually, it's essential because it's hygiene products
Hygiene,
naman.
oo. So maganda,
Oo.
swak, kumbaga swak na swak, di ba?
Yes. So, and then now, I think we've really strengthened our social media platforms. That's why the sales has picked up. It's almost at parang parehas na nung nagbabazar.
Fantastic. That's really great news. So what you've really seen is that it's what tools you had was really to strengthen your social media game. I guess that's it, no? Having people behind it and having really people focus behind it as well, because all the attention or resources before hate, di ba? May bazaar, the social media, parang pambonus na lang yung social media. But now social media is the main driver of business. So all the attention went over there. Great. And then for Siege, for yourself, managing yourself as a product at home, what tools did you have to use? I mean, it's pretty obvious that it has to be these tools to do things like this, like we're using right now, these broadcast tools. But what are the other digital tools that you found very helpful for yourself?
Well, I also work with people. Even if we're somewhat our product is ourselves, there are still people that we work with, and so communication channels were really important. Just being able to replicate that same comfort level that you have talking to someone face to face. You need to find out what works for you, whether that's a certain messaging platform or video calls. If video calls is where you're more comfortable, then go for that. But I think at the core, to build on what Rob said earlier, he had a wonderful point about trust. I'd also like to add empathy. So we have to guard ourselves against burnout. We need to do weekly check-ins with one-on-ones. If you're a manager, it's so important to just schedule that time, because even if people say on the chat that, how are you doing? You're okay. But there could be something going on under that, especially now. Mental health is such a growing concern as in these uncertain times. So you need to really take care of people. It's not all about maximum productivity all the time, because if we don't take care of one another, we might find ourselves in a position where we can't produce at all. So every manager has their own way of doing things. I guess what I do with some of the people I work with is we try to replace after work socialization, because normally we would go to a restaurant after, or we would hang out, go to the mall. We don't have that anymore, but we all got Animal Crossing.
Perfect. I love that. Or pwede na ngayon kami ni Ro, pwede kami mag-inuman, e-numan, di ba? That one you can do. In fact, some people nowadays, those are their reunions nowadays, di ba? They get together with high school classmates, mag-iinuman sila online. So you never know. That's one way of I guess recovering your mental health by reconnecting with people at the same time. Siege, thanks so much for sharing. Now, moving on, no, when we look at the crisis, there's actually a Chinese character called Wei Ji, diba? Wei Ji. That means that even in crisis, there is an opportunity. And as entrepreneurs, we're always trying to look at problems or pain points, not as a bad thing, but rather as something that we need to solve, right? Because if we solve it, dyan tayo kikita ng pera. That's where we make money again. So what did you guys see? What did you see as the emerging business opportunities, particularly for your field, as a result of this quarantine? Did you pivot your model? Did you relocate? Did you create something new? I know, Rob, for a fact that you were telling me Carton actually pivoted and innovated on its business model. It actually grew. It iterated and grew more than what its original business model was. Please share with us about that.
Yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, Carton really stood for really local, handmade artisanal products, and that was more or less our consistent theme. But during the lockdown, a lot of our customers started messaging us and started asking us for basic necessities. Like, people were asking us, "Oh, do you have rice? How about meat? How about chicken? How about vegetables?" So we felt that we have a platform that people trust. We have, when we figure out how to still fulfill our deliveries, we saw an opportunity to cater to needs of our customers that it's just needed during this time. So we started adding basic necessities. We have multinational brands that are now part of our portfolio. We have fresh seafood, fresh meat, vegetables, rice. So we were slowly starting to become an e-grocery as well. And I think this was a pleasant surprise for our customers. So we started evolving into some sort of one-stop shop where they could get a lot of their basic necessities. And even up to now, we're even looking at adding back to school items, things that we never thought we would even consider for Carton. And because our customers were looking for, hey, do you have something for our kids so that when they go back to school, we have pens, pencils, and all these things. So we're slowly adding these to the portfolio now. Maybe it's for a limited time because, again, we don't want to veer away from what we really stand. But we listen to our customers and we're providing them what they want. So we now provide a wider range for our customers.
Great. So it's sort of like the infrastructure was in place. Why don't we just funnel more products into the infrastructure that's currently in place? So you grew it from just being Filipino-made products to being everything that people could get, particularly during this pandemic. And I'm just curious to find out, Rob, do you see this as a business model moving forward, being at one-stop shop, or do you think you will go back again to your old model of being, for Filipino-made products, or would you might even evolve and iterate into something newer after this pandemic sort of gets managed?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question, which is a very, I guess, an internal debate that we've been having. It's because the opportunity is there, right? I think Carton will evolve. That's the way forward. As to how we're gonna evolve, that's not clear. Definitely, we will not just take away and go back to where we were before. One thing that's very clear: our mission is to really help Filipino entrepreneurs and help promote Filipino products to be global products. So we will not go out of that, and we will be very strong on that still. So we may have a complementary platform that can help support this new normal. And I think both have to coexist. So it's something that's still in discussion, but currently they live in harmony in one platform. Maybe one thing to look at this is maybe if you look at Amazon and Etsy, that's how it has evolved, where Etsy is more curated, Amazon is your end all be all.
I see.
That might be a model. But yeah, we'll see. It's for now. We just provide as much necessities as possible without going out of our core to really promoting our local entrepreneurs.
Fantastic. Rob, just to share with you, one of my co-investors who also own Mercato Central is John Magsaysay of Potato Corner. And it's this is the advice he gave me during this crisis. He said, your business, RJ, is incubation of food vendors. Don't veer away from that one. I mean, there are ways to pivot around that one, but keep the core essence of what your company does. Same thing for Carton. Keep the core essence of what the company does, but find different ways to deliver it. And that's exactly what you guys are doing during this crisis. Really great job that you guys are doing over there. And then Siege, ikaw, how about you? What is you as a product, how have you pivoted? What are the business opportunities you are seeing that is emerging in your field, in our field?
Ang reassuring dito is that kung may problema tayo, problema din yun ang isa. Kung tayo nahirapan kasi nawalan tayo ng events, edi yung brands din, yung mga brands na nag-organize doon, yung marketing departments, nawalan sila ng mga events that they were planning for that quarter, maybe for this whole year. So I'm very I guess, grateful to see that these brands are moving their
Yes, yes.
activations online. More are coming in that way. And another reassuring thing that keeps me going is knowing that as much as there are challenges, there are also people and organizations whose job it is to support the people who are going through those challenges. Ang daming mga grants na pwede mong applyan for COVID response, for businesses who are going through difficult times. For Go Hard Girls, my podcast about female athletes, we were able to find and win a grant from Australia to create a podcast episode about a Filipina athlete who was affected by the pandemic. So yung kinikwento ko kanina, yung kwento ni Irish Magnum, yun yun. And the new pain point there is that this is Irish. She qualified for the Olympics and halos walang balita about it because nagka-lockdown na. And so hindi siya TV, normally qualifies for the Olympics and dami mong TV interviews.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Pasok ka na dyan sa quarantine. So that's exactly our mission, and I'm very grateful that we were able to find a way to be empowered to continue with that mission. So the big learning for me here is that sometimes the solution isn't immediately apparent, but there's a way to find it. There's always a way to make an impact, still pursuing the mission that you want. Same as you, RJ, finding ways to incubate small businesses, diba? So, ano lang, extra creativity is needed during these times.
Laban lang, swim harder. Diba? Like Dory, just swim harder. And you know what, guys, Siege, Rob, and Jana, diba? During this crisis, we saw many, particularly in my industry, food, diba? We saw many people emerge becoming food entrepreneurs, some out of passion, out of boredom, many out of desperation because they needed to create some additional income. But eventually they realized, kumikita pala kami ng pera, and then it's growing. And then they realize all of a sudden, baka it's time na to start formalizing my business processes, start registering it, start making it something that's legal. And I'm sure that the DTI would love that as well. At the start, they understand that there are, if you start business informally, then if it works, maybe you might want to formalize it as a even just as a sole proprietorship and moving it forward. What are your recommendations for these other businesses, for these small businesses that are moving up and moving up in this world, getting successful during this crisis? Should they start formalizing their business already? How about you, Rob? What do you think? You're dealing with at least small merchants actually on Carton.
Yeah. That's a very good question. I think the vast majority of our merchants, especially when they started, were, of course, they didn't have the right documentation. These were passion projects, projects that some were backyard, some were, recipes handed down generation to generation, things that excited them in the beginning, and they're just figuring things out, right? So what I would say is formalizing one's business is a sign of commitment, and it helps you transition from a passion project, a backyard type of setup, to a position where you are ready to scale, right? So
that's right.
So it's a different commitment. So going through the process is a beautiful process, right? And this is now the sign that you are ready to take it to the next level. Now, when I say scale, what is a concrete example of you scaling when you have the right formal business? So, like one example I can give is multinationals, say, who would want to buy your product and give it, let's say, as gifts to their employees or their partners, will not be able to purchase your product if you do not have the right documentation. They will not even consider you. You will not be part of the process, and that is a wasted opportunity. The process
you could have scaled, but because you didn't have the right papers for accreditation, they could not get you. They couldn't get your services.
Exactly. So that's one concrete example. The other concrete example is if you want to start exporting your products, which is a more tedious process. But same thing, there are certain documentations on top of that.
That's right.
It will not happen, right? So you you remain where you are. Yeah, you can increase a little bit, but you don't realize the scale on where you can be unless you really formalize your business. So for me, it just helps take you to the next level, and it's really all about scaling your business and becoming, realizing that potential.
That's really great advice, Rob. That's what I keep on trying to tell also all of our small food vendors who want to start growing their business as well. That at the start, mom and pop muna kayo, testing muna kayo. But medyo pag may traction na kayo, then it's time to start formalizing your business, or else you stay mom and pop forever, di ba?
Exactly. Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
and how about for you? For you in your case, John, I know that you're on the way to actually formalizing your business. What prompted your decision to make sure that you want to go through that whole process? Because admittedly, it can be tedious, but you know that you need it. Why do you think you needed to formalize your business?
So I decided that I want to be in this business for a long time. I'm in it for the long haul. So I want to formalize it. I want to be able to comply to the government requirements. Syempre, gusto natin very compliant tayo.
I see. Got it. Thanks so much, Jana. That's really great advice. So it also echoes the same thing that hopefully Carton.ph can help you scale more of your products. You're on their platform. Let's make this a synergy. Go on their platform. Who knows? Zero Basics could go international if you know how to export your products after learning the whole process. No, Siege, ikaw, I don't know how you can scale yourself, no, but then tell us.
Yes,
But
sana nga.
Siege, for you, I'm like you. I can, when you're talking, I could feel you, Siege. I could feel you as you were talking earlier here as a host. And like for me, I had to formalize my service as a host as well. Get an OR, get myself as a registered as somebody who gives receipts for your hosting jobs. What do you see for the people in the freelancing industry? Why do you think it's important for them to start formalizing their services?
I think it's so important, especially if you're a young millennial or maybe even Gen Z and you're starting out and you want to have that level of control. Scaling, in our case, means being able to work with bigger and bigger clients.
Yes.
And bigger organizations. And even when I was doing reporting, you couldn't go on TV and report if you didn't have a receipt. For magazines, you can't write for magazines if you don't have a receipt. You can't even voice work, so voice talent, voice acting. Before you didn't need a receipt, but increasingly studios are asking for receipts. So I have a sole proprietorship, and I guess tama yung sabi ni Rob na it is a beautiful process in the sense that it locks a lot of doors, but it's also very difficult.
That's right.
Going through that, parang, oh my gosh, ang daming So, I guess you just have to suck it up for a little because it's going to be worth it. It's hard, but it's worth it.
But actually, also, Jana, the flip side of that being, if you're a freelancer who fails to register as a getting your receipt and everything else, that you're not recognized, technically you're underground. Many freelancers actually suffered during this crisis because many of them could not get anything from the ayuda from the government because they did not have any SSS. They did not have anything that registered them with the government at that time. So it became very difficult for them to reach out to any industry or any government entity to help them out. So particularly in the case of us freelance creators or freelance hosts, it's important to register yourself in the business. So having said all that, guys, let's go to really the end point as we share with people listening to us here right now. We've got aspiring entrepreneurs listening to us. We've got fellow entrepreneurs who are also listening to us at the same time. The question is, do you think that even right now, amidst this pandemic, which, as we're trying to manage it, might last for 6 months to a year, is it still a good time to become an entrepreneur? And what advice would you give to that aspiring entrepreneur at this time? Rob, let's start with you.
Yeah, I would say it's the perfect time to be an entrepreneur because no rules apply, right? You create the rules.
Wild West.
Yeah, it's Wild West. I'm not kidding. Like, it's just new things come up every day, new ways to sell, to communicate. So it's an amazing time to be an entrepreneur. To be honest, it's the best time. My advice would be just don't get disheartened if what you had in mind is not what happens right away. People get so excited with their ideas, and sometimes when something doesn't happen the way it's intended to be, maybe it's a sign for you to kind of tweak that idea to
Yes.
get it to be more successful. So it's just, be patient and just take in the learnings and the insights, change, but go for it. Don't let go of that dream. And yeah, it's the perfect time to do it.
Yeah, and like I often tell people, Rob, sometimes your first business model might not be your ultimate business model. Like the first thing that you think of, like for you, you thought that the most ideal is just doing it for bazaar items, but actually there was a bigger purpose, which was to make
Yeah.
it in Filipino products. The bigger purpose now is to make it a one-stop shop
Yes.
for products. So sometimes your first business model isn't your ultimate one, but if you don't do business in the first place, you will never figure that one out, diba?
That's true. That's true. Yes.
Again, thanks so much, Rob Vasilius of Carton.ph. Siege, for you, particularly in this field of creative entrepreneurship, is it a good time to get into our field right now, which is, basically, I guess, production work, hosting work, doing all these things during this time?
Yes, I think this is a great time. This is the time to seize those opportunities because people do have needs. It's just that the needs have probably shifted or changed. So you have to listen to those needs, find out how you can help yourself by helping others. If you're a host, find where the digital hosting is, online hosting events. If you're a writer, there might not be as many opportunities for writing TVCs, but digital videos for sure meron yan. There might not be, if you're a lifestyle writer and you can't cover events right now, there will be other things to cover. You can write about whatever people are interested or whatever they care about these days. There will always be an opportunity. So yes, now is the time for entrepreneurship, but at the same time, now is the time for collaboration. Partner up with other businesses, other brands who are going through this moment with us. And sa atin din, sa ating lahat on this call and everyone watching, we need to support other entrepreneurs, our friends who are starting their small businesses. We have to pull together. And I just want to end by sharing this message on a shirt that I got from a small business. So my friend Sanggalang, who runs Linya Linya, he made a shirt and I got it as my motivation during these uncertain times. And it says, "Pwedeng mapagod, bawal sumuko."
And that's particularly what an entrepreneur is about, di ba? Huwag lang tayo talo sa ideas natin. Huwag lang tayo susuko. There's a lot of ideas. But, di ba, again, the entrepreneurship mindset is that these problems, these are pain points which we are here to solve. And again, I'd like to thank all of our guests, great entrepreneurs in their own rights, who've had to both survive and thrive during this crisis. Again, thank you so much, Rob Avzelius of Carton.ph, Janice Sevilla of Zero Basics, and Siege Tantenko, our freelance creative branding consultant and podcaster. Again, my name is RJ Ledesma. Thank you so much for joining us here today. For more information on registering your business yourself, please visit the Globe My Business website for a full do-it-yourself guide on how to formalize your business. For even more help on registration, Globe My Business has an exclusive partnership with my good friend Ginger Arboleda of TaxSumo. So please sign up at the Globe My Business TaxSumo portal on TaxSumo and use the code GMBTXMBIZ. Again, that's GMBTXMBIZ to get up to 50% discount on different TaxSumo services. This service is only available in Metro Manila and key cities in Cavite, Tarlac, and Laguna. The promo duration is until December 31. Again, thank you so much to our good friends from Globe Business for joining us behind the scenes, to our good friends from Rappler, and of course, to our three entrepreneurs. Guys, good luck. God bless. I hope that you both survive and thrive during this pandemic. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.